very rarely in Call of Duty do I take a class in which I think, you know what, this genuinely is not fair. A lot of the times, I think that I'll recommend you guys some class setups that you guys can do well with, whether that be in or out of your normal playstyles. I'd like to bring you guys stuff that you can do well with, but whenever I take a look at this class we're gonna be talking about today, well, it's just straight up not fair. If you end up using this right, you will tear through every single enemy that comes your way and drop some insane gameplays and some great progression for either camo challenges or any other challenge in general, or if you just wanna be the #1 player in your lobby 24/7, this will definitely be one of the ways that helps you out. So today we're gonna talk about what I think is the one class that really just blows everything else out of the water right now, and it comes down to what we use on it. So today we're gonna be talking about that class, breaking it down for you guys, and hopefully getting you guys some awesome gameplay as a result. That said, let's just jump right into it. So here for this one, we'll be talking about the ICR, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of talk from either your other favorite YouTubers over on Twitter, or maybe yourself have been chatting about this with your friends online, wherever it may be, in which the ICR is genuinely a very good weapon to begin with. It is that base default assault rifle within Black Ops 4, and some of the design intent within weaponry was to, of course, have those higher tier weapons be absolute beasts as well, but still players starting out would have the opportunity to do well with the base weapons. So therefore you see the MX-9, which is relatively weaker compared to some SMGs, but it still can hold its own. The assault rifle of the ICR, of course, is a powerhouse. That's why we're talking about it here today with this one. The tactical rifles, the Auger DMR is absolutely solid as well as that base tactical. The Titan is pretty much on par with all the other LMGs, and the Paladin, to me, sniping is probably the best sniper that I'd choose to use, and that again is a base default weapon for the classification. So when you take a look at just the design intent of the starting weapons, well, you got a good choice already off the bat, and the ICR, of course, is no exception to that. It is an absolute powerhouse. From its base standing, it carries over pretty much from where it was in Black Ops 3, which was a high power, very low recoil, decent fire rate weapon. And that's what made it so good in Black Ops 3, was there was an all-around powerful weapon, but you could end up doing absolute damage with it at range because of the lack of recoil. The ICR at its base has very little, but when you attach what we have on it today, you're gonna have absolutely none. So as for the class setup itself, well, this is where we're gonna differ from completely every class setup that we've done in the past. I don't think that I've ever recommended a class setup like this before, but it works and works well. So we're gonna be taking a look at a weapon classification with 6 attachments, no perks, no secondary, and no gear. Now, of course, that will require you to alter your playstyle a little bit, but from experience, I think you'll be too busy dominating the game to really realize that you're gonna be missing those other things that aren't on the class setup. So right off the bat, you can take 3 of those pick 10 slots to go towards wildcards, that being primary gunfighter 1 through 3, which allows you to take those extra perks outside of what you normally are allotted in terms of just the optic and 2 attachments. So we end up having an optic and 5 attachments, and that's actually how I ended up finding this class setup and how I really came to be in love with it. I was doing my camo challenges for the ICR, and for rifles, one of your technical challenges is to get 50 kills with an optic and 5 attachments equipped for whatever weapon it may be. And so doing so on the ICR required me to get rid of all my perks, put all the wild cards on for primary gunfighter 1 through 3, and play around with the attachments of a reflex sight, a grip, FMJ, quick draw, long barrel, and the biggest and I think most crucial part of this class setup, grip 2. And we'll get to why in just a second, but running down everything else here for you, it was born out of the necessity to complete the challenge itself, but the optic of the reflex I think is just a little bit more precise than that of the iron sights of the ICR. Back in Black Ops 3 and also within Black Ops 4, the iron sights aren't all that bad, but just me liking to have that extra precise dot, I'm all for that. So I'm okay with putting the optic on here if you want to sacrifice it for, say, either your gear of stim shot or acoustic sensor, definitely worth it, but if you guys are like me and you like that extra little red dot, definitely worth the while. Now, the regular grip allows you to end up having reduced recoil when aiming down sight, which, as we already mentioned, the ICR has very minimal to begin with. The spray pattern isn't all that hard to tackle, and so therefore minimizing it all that much more is just a tremendous help. Now, FMJ will penetrate and destroy body armor, which for those of you guys that have played Black Ops 4, I'm sure that you've had some issue with body armor already. I know that it's definitely annoying whenever you end up thinking you have that kill secured, but you end up seeing that ping of that armor block the first shot, and therefore it might result in you dying and losing the gunfight. But it also allows for increased bullet penetration through walls and objects, which in things like hardcore, which I've been taking a liking to recently, that tremendously helps as well. Simply because even if it's a thicker wall, the slightest bit of damage can finish off an enemy at that. Quick draw is, of course, definitely great because it helps to improve your aiming speed, and in things especially like hardcore, that's crucial. First gun up is usually the one that ends up getting the kill or even hip firing, but if you want that at-range kill, you're gonna need to snap onto enemies. So quick draw is fantastic for that, right? Long barrel allows for increased damage fall off at ranges, and this really helps more so in core. Hardcore, you only have 30 HP to begin with, so therefore, any shot you take, you're kind of dead. But long barrel helps at range to keep that damage, so at range it'll probably take about a shot or two off depending on how far the player is in the time to kill for that. So always a useful and helpful perk there, but the big coup de grace of this entire class setup is Grip 2. Now the description of this is that it minimizes recoil when aiming before firing, but it also reduces the flinch when aiming down sight. So if you're in a gunfight and somebody's shooting at you, you're gonna have hardly any blowback from taking shots and any damage at all, because you're gonna be able to keep your laser pointer shot accurate and clean and be able to finish that kill off. And at range, this is where it really thrives, because we talked about very little recoil to begin with, but I'm not kidding, it is a laser pointer, especially at range. And to kind of demonstrate this, we did a little bit in a video the other day showcasing a brief comparison between the base ICR and the Grip 2 version of this, to which you can end up clearly seeing that even at range, the smaller dot in which we're firing at, in the base version, you go all around the place. It's kind of spraying all around and will hit if you can control it, but for the sake of demonstration, my finger was completely off the right thumbstick, so that was just the regular recoil pattern there with it. But with Grip 2 on it, that's where it really flourished, because same range, same small target, did not move a single bit. And I'm sure at some point during this gameplay, you'll have seen at least a clip or two of me playing on Morocco, and not that I really try to be that player, but the spawns are rather predictable on Morocco, especially on lower level, and so therefore you can see that in this clip, these dudes are spawning right behind cover, coming out and getting beamed immediately after so, because I can see, and I am not gonna miss a shot because of how accurate this thing is at range. So unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles with this one, and it's something that at range, at least in my favor as the user, really helps out, but it's kind of unfair because it's so good. Now I could recommend this class setup all day and talk about it because I am in love with this. It's been my go-to class for the longest time. But the peripheries in what you should run outside of this, because we do have the class setup, but with this class setup, it also sacrifices a lot of things. And if you're somebody that wants to slay out, go on a nice streak, you're running out of ammo rather quickly because you only have 3 magazines, and also with the lack of scavenger, because you can't equip that, otherwise you're over your pick 10 slot, you'll probably run out of ammo rather quickly, and no matter what other weapon you pick up off the ground, it's probably not gonna be as accurate and as deadly at range as this class setup. So what I would recommend is that when you go into game, try as hard as you can to end up getting crash. I'm usually a recon main simply because knowledge is everything. Having the ability to sensor dart into where a player base could be, or being able to pop your vision pulse and see where exactly the enemies are in real time like a VSAT, that's huge. But crash is something you can end up giving yourself more health, but also every minute or so you can end up dropping more ammo for yourself and your team, to which you'll not only get more score for every kill you pick up afterwards, but also anytime your team picks up the assault pack, you'll get points as well. Now the thing that really comes down to it, and again breaks this entire class setup down into being just insanely good, is the Grip 2. And if you're not a huge fan of the ICR, that's totally cool, and it is available on a select number of other weapons, but honestly not all that many. The only other ones out there that I've seen so far are the GKS and the SDM, because as we know, not every weapon shares the same collective attachment pool. It's not like attachments for all assault rifles or all SMGs. Each weapon has their own individual cases. So those are the only other two, but as you guys can tell by the classification, the SDM is a semi-auto sniper, so that can get annoying, but at range it should be decent already. Plus, the GKS is that SMG that at range isn't gonna fare as well as that ICR. So the ICR is that one that is the gem out of all of this because it can do well in closer quarters engagements, but you lock it on to long range and it's insane. It has the power of a rifle, of course, which is great. You won't be able to miss, and you'll have a much higher fire rate than that of a sniper, and also much more range than that of the SMG. So Grip 2 on the ICR really is the icing on the cake. And with that, that's all you need to know to absolutely dominate any lobby that you go into. For me, I've been absolutely crushing it within not only just TDM and domination and control and all the other game modes in core, but I've been having a ton of fun with this thing in hardcore as well, even though for the most part, a lot of what you need here doesn't really necessarily need to translate over into hardcore. So any aspect of the game that you go in and play, this class setup I can almost guarantee you will do tremendously well. So that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of the 6 attachment, no perks setup that we're running here at this? Do you think it's something that's incredibly overpowered and you don't really want to go up against it? Or do you think that you could distribute this a little better in terms of the create a class setup from attachments and also perks that you end up having on offer? Whatever it is, of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you have any adjustments you'd make, feel free to share those in the comments as well. Always open to this kind of stuff, especially on class setup stuff, because it's just all preference based, and giving you my experience here with it could differ from somebody else that gives you their experience with it as well. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. If you are also new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Call of Duty Black Ops 4, multiplayer, blackout, zombies. We got you covered. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. We're gonna be killing it with the content here. I have still so much stuff planned, and I'm excited to share it all with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. But that said, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Mine is an espresso. Take care and peace.